right, you're listening to another episode of Geek Vice, the official podcast of, man, I'm tired of being in Oklahoma City and want to go home.
Welcome, everybody, to Geek Vice, episode 119, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That guy's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
So you're stuck in Oklahoma City. So we apologize for last week because we completely missed last week. We tried to record. I was out of town on Monday, taking the kids on spring break vacation on Monday, so we couldn't record then. I didn't get back until Tuesday night, so we were going to try to record on Wednesday night. And I don't remember what happened Wednesday. Oh, Kip wasn't feeling well on Wednesday night, so we couldn't record. We didn't record Wednesday night. Then we tried to record on Thursday, and then my life got in the way, and I couldn't record on Thursday. So we just said, you know what? Apparently last week was just not meant to record, so we're here this week.
Yeah, last Tuesday I got a grand total of 2 hours of sleep. So when it came time to podcast on Wednesday, I had nothing in the tank.
Yeah.
You didn't really want to have a podcast listening to me sleep, so we decided to postpone.
And, you know, that happens. That happens to the best of us.
Well, traveling takes it out of you. You know, it sounds all glamorous, but, man, I do not sleep when I'm on the road.
I get that. So what have you done anything fun while you've been in Oklahoma City?
Well, it's a curious city. We'll just say that. The hotel we're staying at is an Embassy Suites. And when we were booking this trip, they were like, well, we're having a hard time finding you hotel rooms. It's like, I wonder why. And then we get here and we figured out why. The 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament is here in Oklahoma City. So I feel pretty fortunate that we actually got hotel rooms, so I can't complain about that. The cool part is Texas A&M's basketball team stayed in this hotel.
Oh, nice.
So that was pretty cool. And the coolest part is Texas A&M cheerleaders also stayed in this hotel. Which I have to say did not suck. In fact, one day we were holding class and we kept hearing all this clapping, and then we went out the door at break time and the dance team was practicing right in front of our door. So like, all right, I can deal. This works.
That's awesome. So is your training in that hotel room as well? Or in that hotel?
Last week it was. So we had 5 days of training in this hotel. Pretty decent. It was a lot of fun because, you know, you get up in the morning, you just go downstairs for breakfast, then you go into the training room, and then when you're done with training, you just go back upstairs, change into some shorts, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah.
They had a free happy hour from 5:30 to 7:30 that too many times I took advantage of. So last Thursday we were actually fortunate that family got in your way so you couldn't podcast because I was in bad shape. But that's okay. We went to some place called Jasmo's and had Cajun food and some whiskey there after I had like 4 at happy hour. And then we got back to the hotel and we were with the surveying group. And if anybody knows anything about survey, you know that the likelihood of maybe playing a little too hard is a possibility, a strong possibility.
Oh, yeah.
So we got back to the hotel, and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm going to bed. And it's like, no, I'm going to go drink. You want to join me? It's like, damn it. Yes, I'm going to join you. So we're sitting in there at the bar, and that's when the Texas A&M cheerleaders decided to show up and sit at the bar with us and drink a little bit. So once again, did not suck.
Yeah.
It was funny. one of the guys was pretty drunk, and I think probably got a little too friendly, probably creeped out the cheerleaders a little bit, but they were. And then,
so shocking. Was this a surveyor?
yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
And then we had one of the people in the class is a female, and we were sitting there at the bar drinking, and these two guys from Texas were going pretty strong to the hoop trying to pick her up. She's married, so they weren't getting anywhere, but it was hilarious listening to them try.
People watching is just sometimes the best entertainment you can have.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like I was playing goaltender. So I had those two guys trying to pick her up, so I figured I'll have to pay attention to this, and if it gets out of control, I can jump in and help her. And then I'm watching our other guy, creep on the 21-year-olds, and like, well, I probably should keep an eye on that in case I have to drag him away. And, and it's like, I'm not really sober enough for this. Why am I being so responsible? But, it happens.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
The next night, it was a Friday night. I didn't drink. I only had a couple of drinks. I was staying sober because I fought the hangover all day. And so everybody else let loose. The rest of the trainers, they weren't anywhere near this Thursday night stuff. So Friday night, they were ready to let loose. And in the middle of all that, the basketball tournament's going on, and we decided it was a smart idea to try to play flapjacks and Sasquatches, which you've played. It's a fun game. And if people are drinking, it tends to get a little more fun. But when some of the people have never played the game and some of the people are out of control drunk, the game ceases to be fun at that point. So it's probably the first time in my life where people are like, hey, you want to play another game? I went, no. We're done. We are so done.
Well, and that actually brings up a really good point, because it actually brings up a good topic for another podcast, for another episode, because I found an article that was, I think it was something along the lines of life lessons you can learn from board gaming, and that is definitely one. That there is such thing as too much of a good thing, and if things get out of control one way or the other, even a really good board game can be ruined, or really good anything can be ruined.
Yes, and I just didn't think it was possible to ruin a party game by drinking, but I actually witnessed it on Friday night. When the game ended, I packed it up as quickly as possible and put it away and said, okay, we are done. We found a long table in the lobby to sit at, and these couple of guys came up with laptops. And I talked to them for a little bit, and they worked for Texas A&M. This was after A&M's game, and they were like probably writing articles about the game or something. I don't know. And I'm surprised they stayed at the table, because we were loud and disorderly. I don't know how they concentrated, but I kept saying, I'm sorry, man. You want us to leave? It's like, oh, no, you're all good. It's like, how? How could this be okay with you? But
you also have to remember, those people are probably used to writing or doing whatever they're doing for the basketball team. They're probably used to doing that during a basketball game, so they're used to rowdy, noise-ridden, people just screaming and yelling for no reason. So
probably it was just amazing to me, but a new grad from college, he's probably still in that mode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right.
It was fun. I mean, I wouldn't have given two cares about Texas A&M's basketball team, but being around their fans and their cheerleaders and the players a little bit. I actually rooted for them in the tournament, so
Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
there you go. And now nobody's there. So, are you doing anything? You watching any TV or anything while you're there, or is it just all work and no play?
Well, so far it's been plenty of play. What I did do was before leaving, we binged watched season 2 of Bosch on Amazon Prime.
Ooh, yeah.
So if you have not seen Bosch at all, highly recommend it. Season 1 and 2 are on Amazon Prime. And it's a detective based on books by Michael Connelly. And it stars Titus Welliver. Man, I knew I was going to get it right. I got it right. Titus Welliver plays the main character, Bosch. And what I like about it is not only is it strong writing, strong acting, they fought off some of the cliches. So, yeah, he's the cop that seems to be smarter than everybody else. But instead of always fighting with his captain, they actually get along really well. He actually gets along with his partner really well. He does have the cliche of being divorced with a kid, and the kid obviously lives with the mom. But they have a good relationship, so it's not this toxic fighting all the time. So they do fight some stereotypes there. So far each season has been one long murder mystery, I guess is the best way to put it. It's one storyline. It's like watching one movie unfold over 10 episodes.
Okay.
And it sounds like a lot, but the way they do it is fantastic. Season 2, you know who did it right off the bat, but the way they go about telling the story and getting to where they need to be was pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
It takes some twists and turns you don't expect. Just when you think you know exactly what's going on, they drop a twist on you, like, damn it, didn't see that coming. But like I said, we binge watched it before I came out here. So when I get back, we could watch Daredevil. And it's just one of those shows. Once you start watching it, you can't turn it off. It's like, okay, I got to see what happens next. Okay, now I got to see what happens to this guy. Okay, next thing you know, the season's over with, and it doesn't feel like you watched 10 hours of a TV, but you did. So, yeah, highly recommend it. If you've got Amazon Prime, check out Bosch. You will not be disappointed.
I will definitely have to do that because, I've mentioned before that my wife's pretty much given up on TV. She's not really watching any TV anymore. Well, right before we went on spring break, I was watching some episodes of Blacklist season 3, trying to get caught up on it. And she happened to be I don't know if she had finished a book or what, but she just started watching it, and like she stayed awake through the whole thing, which she never. When I start watching TV, she doesn't stay awake. She usually ends up falling asleep.
Gotcha.
And she basically got to the point where she put her book down, wasn't even reading her book, was actually watching the show. And I got done with one episode, and I'm like, well, I think I'm going to watch one more. And she stayed awake through that one too. So she was up till almost 11 o'clock at night. This is a woman that goes to sleep at 8:30 and is like goes to bed at 8:30 and usually asleep before 9 every night. And it was 11 o'clock and she was still up, and I go, well, we can't watch another episode. She's like, well, why? What time is it? I'm like, it's almost 11. She's like, oh, I guess we can't watch one more. Like, she wanted to watch another episode. And so I've purposely not watched any more of them because when we got back from spring break vacation, she was actually sick. So I wanted her to, she needed the sleep. So we haven't really watched any. I guess we might have watched one or two while it was still not too late in the night. So, but she's really enjoying season 3 of The Blacklist, and even so much so she almost went back. Season 1 is on Netflix, and she almost went and watched that on last Friday when she was homesick and just laying in bed looking at things on Netflix to watch. She almost watched season 1, and she's like, I don't need to know all that. I just want to watch season 3. I'm like, that's fine. I can get you caught up. It's pretty easy. That surprisingly, that show is really easy to explain what's happened season to season. When you're just looking for the broad strokes enough to understand the next season, I have to say they've done a really good job with that. There's intricacies that if you were to watch every episode from start to finish, which I have, that there's things that you can pick out and be like, oh, okay, that's why I did this, that's why I did that. But if you haven't watched any of that, you can cover it just by saying Raymond Reddington knows what he's trying to pick up information from each person he's giving to the FBI to go capture, and it's all leading to this end game, and we're not really sure what the end game is. We have an idea, maybe, but we don't actually know, so we just have to go along for the ride. And he does that each season. There's always a little bit more that he's trying to pick up, and I think it's great. I think it's really fun, and the fact that my wife is staying awake for it just goes to show that it's really that good of a TV show.
It is a great show, and season 3 is, in my opinion, has been their best season by a pretty good stretch.
Absolutely.
And the best part about it, in my opinion, is the first 2 seasons. You know, the main character outside of Red is Agent Keene. Thank you, Elizabeth Keene. And first season and a half, I found her highly annoying, ineffectual, kind of a boat anchor.
Yeah, she didn't seem to know what she was doing. Like, she seemed to be like almost like she was lost in the mess of all of it. And now she kind of feels like this is what I'm doing. This is how it's going to happen. And she's going. And
yeah,
she has more. I feel like she's more in control of her life than she was beforehand.
Which is exactly the way I feel about it. And
I think it was supposed to be like that.
In season 3, she just kind of just steps up, in my opinion, and becomes what you thought she should have been in the first 2 seasons. And that, I think that's what's pushed this one over the top for being their best season, because the writing has been strong.
Yeah,
James Spader is fantastic. I mean, holy cow.
I would even make the argument that the Elizabeth Keene character has been played perfectly from beginning through now. Has just and you're right. Like the first season and a half, she's like a floundering fish, but I think it's on purpose. Like I think you get to see her character development from this brand new green FBI agent profiler that has no idea what she's doing to now being this super spy agent type person in this season. Like I think you can take and see that progression all the way through. And I think the writing and the casting and her acting has just been phenomenal. I think it's exactly what the show's needed.
I'm not taking anything away from the actor, and I do believe she played it exactly the way they drew it up, or the way they wanted it to be. I just found it annoying. Yeah, it had nothing to do with her.
Well, and I think you were supposed to like, and that's the thing. I think you were supposed to find her annoying. She was supposed to be the boat anchor of the group, and it was. I mean, that's why it played it perfectly. And I think because she was so much of a, I like your analogy, your boat anchor metaphor there. She's so much of a boat anchor in that first season that this season makes it that much better that she's not. Like she has taken control and is running with it.
Yeah, she was totally the.
She was the weak link.
This is kind of my word for this episode, but she was totally a cliche.
Yeah.
You know, people who know are telling you, do not do this. And that's the first thing she goes out and does.
Yeah.
And then so they have to rescue her constantly. And it was just wearing on me. But like you said, they've grown her character and now she's great. I mean, she is pretty much what you hoped she'd become. And so season 3 was really good. You'll find that out as you go through.
Yeah. Yeah. We're a little over halfway done with the season. We're almost caught up to date. We've only got about 4 episodes or so before we're caught up, and there's a little break because of the March Madness tournament type stuff.
Yeah.
There's not as many new episodes right now. I think they've got a couple weeks where they don't have any new episodes until April, so we might be able to get caught up here in this week or next before they start all the way back up. And I'm going to go with a real quick. I've started watching Daredevil. I have watched the first 3 episodes. This is spoiler free, so you guys don't have to turn anything off because I know Kip over there hasn't watched anything yet. Really good, really good episodes. Really good, especially if you want character interaction, especially if you want character conflict. That doesn't always result in just all out fighting, just that conflict of characters. You've got Matt Murdock and Foggy, like they're having a conflict. You've got the Punisher Daredevil conflict. And it's tons of different conflicts. They're a little bit different, but they're all around the same central point of trying to save Hell's Kitchen, and everyone has their own way of going about doing things, and they're all combating each other. It's great. So first 3 episodes are at least really good. The casting of the Punisher seems to be really well done. I'm liking that so far. It's just really good. And I will throw one thing out there. There is a mention of Luke Cage in the movie or in the TV show within the first 3 episodes. It was either in the second or third one because I watched both of those last night. I think it might have been the 3rd episode. So Foggy finds Claire, the quote-unquote night nurse, and she makes some comment about she's been helping another person like her and Foggy's mutual friend who is really, really strong. Like, yeah, I got you there. I know who you're talking about because I watched that one too. So,
I haven't watched any episodes, but some of the guys I'm at training with have watched quite a bit of the season, and they have been really excited about what they've seen. So I cannot wait to dive in.
Yeah, really good. And so that's all I got really on the TV front. But if you follow our Facebook page, you'll see that on Saturday I posted a picture of Legends of Drizzt board game, and me and my son, who's 7, decided to break this out. And part of the reason, which I thought was just awesome, was my wife was having a party here at the house. So it was like one of those where they bring in stuff and sell stuff in your living room type thing. So I had me and the boys downstairs, and we were in the basement, and they're like, you know what are we going to do down here? And I'm like, and it was too cold to really go running around outside. So I was like, you know what? You guys want to play a board game? I said we could play either Legends of Drizzt or we can play Legendary. Which one do you want to play? And my 4-year-old actually said he wanted to play Legends of Drizzt. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's do this. We want to play the second. We already played the solo campaign on it. So the first adventure is a solo campaign, and so we're like, you know what, let's play the second adventure. And so My 4-year-old played as one character because it's the second campaign can have up to 5 characters in it. My 4-year-old played one character. My 7-year-old played 2 characters, and I played 2 characters. So we had all 5 characters out there.
Nice.
And we went through that, and it was a blast. And had a ton of fun playing. I need to check the rules a little bit. I'm going to watch some videos here in the next few days to see, because I think I might have goofed up on some of the rules a little bit because we went through it almost too easily, and maybe that's just maybe I didn't scale up things enough for 5 players basically, because we were able to take out bad guys really quickly, and nobody actually took much damage. Nobody had to use any healing surges or anything to try to stay alive. So there was no risk of anybody really of us losing at all. And it was still fun. So I recommend this game for anyone who wants a Dungeons and Dragons experience, but doesn't want to have to go and actually play a campaign like a normal D&D campaign. This board game works out perfect for that. It's filled that niche perfectly for my oldest son, who's really wanting to get to D&D, and this setup time and that prep time for this is a lot less than a D&D campaign. And if it's just me and him, we can still play, as opposed to trying to have to get a whole group of people together. I will say, if the Legends of Drizzt has any downside to it, it is that the setup time for it, or just the prep, just getting it ready to play, can be a little cumbersome. But if you're really interested in playing, then, like my 7-year-old's now started to be able to, like, okay, I can hand him the player characters and he can get all the pieces for the player characters that we need, and he can get all those together while I'm getting the dungeon tiles together and getting the monster cards shuffled and the treasure cards shuffled and that kind of stuff. So worked out really well. Setup time is probably could be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to get everything set up and ready to go. And you can play through, we played through it in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half total by the time we got it. And then, another 10 minutes to get it all picked back up, because it does have a lot of pieces. There's a lot of little cardboard tokens. There's a lot of miniatures and figures, a lot of cavern tiles. So there's a lot of pieces to it. It's a big box, so it holds a lot of stuff. But I think the part that shows how good this game was is, normally when my wife has these parties up in the living room, the kids are always wanting to go up and down the stairs, and they're getting in the way, and she gets frustrated with me because I can't keep them contained. She actually made the comment afterwards. She was shocked that the kids rarely came upstairs. And at some point, some of the people up there didn't even know she had kids there, because we were just downstairs quiet, because we were so engrossed in this game and we're having so much fun playing it that they didn't even have any interest in going upstairs. So I kept them contained for about a 2.5 hour time frame where nobody actually knew that the kids were there.
That's cool. Well, and you've touched on it, is there's some setup time and there's some teardown time, but it's the kind of game that once you get beyond that, it's so, you have a 4-year-old playing.
Yeah.
It's so easy to teach. It's so easy to learn. It's easy to play.
Yeah.
But it still has a little bit of depth to it. So it's,
yeah, and I mean, the 4-year-old can't read the cards and doesn't know what he's really doing, but I can help explain. Like, I can help him say, okay, you want to use this at willpower, which means you need to roll the dice and add this to it. And I can even help him with the math. I don't do the math for him, but I help him do the math so that he's even learning math with this. And so he can then know, oh, okay, well, he hit or he didn't hit. And then I try to build up the thematics of it, the storytelling part of it. So, like, oh, you swung your big, your giant hammer at the bad guy, and this tiny little goblin just ducked out of the way, and your hammer crashed against the wall, and rocks went flying everywhere. And my 4-year-old just goes, oh, and gets all excited about it, and then when he gets a hit, he's just like, yes, and he's jumping up and down like he, just saved the world. And it was great to watch him.
Kind of like what you and I do when we play D&D.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. And if you guys come out on April 30th to Geek Vice's tabletop day party at Red Crow Brewery, then I will definitely have this out there, which it's Kip's game, so I guess Kip will have it out there, but I'm going to bring it because I have it now. So it's definitely going to come out there. So if you guys want to check it out, see how it's played, you're welcome to play, or nothing else, just have a beer and watch some other kids play it. So it's a lot of fun. And so that's what we've been up to this week. And I found, I go through and search for these topics for our main topic of the show. And sometimes they kind of fit in and sometimes they don't. And this one just fit perfectly. And it had to be on this week's episode of Geek Vice because there's this really big movie that opens in 4 days. This movie that people have heard of called Batman vs Superman, and there was an interesting article that was on Variety website, and it brought up a really good point, and it's something that I have kind of been thinking, but I'd never actually seen an expert or somebody who's familiar with the movie industry actually say, and basically came down to that this Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice movie could actually be the biggest risk that Warner Brothers has taken. And it's not necessarily that Batman vs Superman can't be a good movie. It's not necessarily that, Batman vs Superman is projected to fail. It's just the simple fact that Warner Brothers has put so much money both in writers, directors, actors, and marketing for this movie, and they pushed it off from being supposed to being released in 2015 to being released in 2016, that now this movie, let me try to find the exact number here. This movie has to make $800 million just to basically get a return on their investment, just to basically break even. This movie has to make
price tag.
Yeah, $800 million. And Warner Brothers 2015, they got hurt real bad with movies like Jupiter Ascending and Pan, which this article says lost more than $100 million on Pan. I never even saw Pan. It didn't even look good. But then also The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was a Warner Brothers movie that didn't make as much money as projected,
Which is too bad because that was a good movie.
Right. But, so this Batman v Superman movie has got to be big. And not only does it have to be big to save Warner Brothers and give them some money, but Warner Brothers has also come out and said they're going to do 10 DC movies in the next 5 years. That's 2 movies a year. And if this movie doesn't hit it big, if this movie doesn't make a blockbuster sale like an Avengers movie has, they might not be willing to take the risk on movies like Aquaman or Wonder Woman. You're talking about the 2 biggest characters in the DC universe in Batman and Superman. And if Warner Brothers can't make a movie with both of the two biggest characters in their universe, how are they going to make a movie with Aquaman or Wonder Woman? How are they going to make a movie with Aquaman if they can't do Batman and Superman?
Well, who's the biggest comic book character in the Marvel universe?
Spider-Man? Wolverine?
And what characters have made Marvel the most money? Not those two guys.
Well, yeah. But I would also say that those two guys are the reason why there are Iron Man and Thor. That's why Marvel's still a studio.
Yeah.
Because those movies did make money. The problem is the Superman movies haven't been good. The Batman movies were good, but they were a different sort of good. Like, you had Batman Begins and you had The Dark Knight. Yeah. You know, you have those two. The first two movies that Nolan did were really good and made really good money. The third one was not so good. And I mean, it showed that Nolan didn't really want to do that movie. And now you've got Zack Snyder coming in to try to do this movie. And, you know, I would also make the argument that, okay, Kip, look at what DC has done with all of their movies that they've tried to put out since Batman Begins. You've got Batman Begins and all the other Batman movies where it's a gritty, real life, real street, you know, this is actually what's happening type thing. This could be happening next door. They tried to do that with Green Lantern. It failed. It didn't work at all. They've tried to do it with Superman, the Man of Steel. And you had people up in arms because they didn't even get the Batman character right, or the audience didn't feel like they got the Batman character right. Now they're going to try to do this with Batman v Superman. It looks like a dark and gritty movie. So all their movies seem to be in this dark and gritty type universe, this dark and gritty tone. Now I'm going to take you to Marvel movies. Iron Man. Is Iron Man, the very first Iron Man movie, was that anything like the first Thor movie? Was there anything that you could say, oh yeah, those are similar movies?
No, they were vastly different. You know, one was lighter than the other.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can even go as far as going the Captain America movie and the Ant-Man movie. Nothing alike.
I could say the first Thor and the first Captain America were probably fairly similar.
But that first Captain America movie was really more, I mean, that was a period piece. That whole thing took place during World War II.
But I'm talking about the feel. The feel of that movie was pretty similar to Thor. There was the lighthearted moments, but it was basically all serious business because something big had to be taken care of. And so that to me was where those two were the most similar.
Okay. Now,
but I agree with your argument though. They kind of let the character drive the movie instead of trying to force something in.
They're writing the movies around the characters. And now for the final comparison, take Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. Any of those movies like the Avengers movie?
No.
Because that Avengers movie was a action-packed, tongue-in-cheek, that was a superhero movie. That was explosions and bombs everywhere. The story was there, but the story wasn't the driving force of it. It was the fun. It was the, I mean, these are characters that do extraordinary, crazy things. I mean, Hulk jumping up in the sky, grabbing Iron Man and sliding down the building. Like, that was one of the moments that everybody got, like, that cheered in the theater. You know, it's like that's the moment of the movie. That's kind of one of those key moments of the movie.
Well, what you did is you just took the three main characters, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and I think they took a little bit of each one of those and made the Avengers movie what it was. I mean, it had the levity and kind of the sarcastic tone of Iron Man.
Yeah.
And then it had the seriousness of Thor and Captain, and the gung ho, take care, do whatever you can for the greater good of Captain America.
Yeah. And that's my point exactly, is that Marvel has gone and taken these movies, they've taken these characters and they've built a movie around the characters. And that is where I think DC is falling flat. And I think that's where Warner Brothers that's why this Superman versus Batman movie, because watching these trailers, these are not Superman movies. Like, these trailers are not Superman trailers. These are darker than Batman trailers. These are, the world is coming to an end. This is apocalypse type trailers. Like, these trailers are not, like, to me, these trailers to me have pushed this movie, or it feels like this movie is being written and then characters are being put in. Like, where, they have Wonder Woman show up in one of these trailers, but the movie doesn't feel like Wonder Woman should even be there. Like,
right.
I am really scared that this movie is going to fail, and fail big. And if this movie fails, this could be the beginning of the end of Warner Brothers. I mean, if they have another year like they had in 2015, where they lost so much money, where their stockholders are not happy, we could very well see the end of Warner Brothers, where Warner Brothers gets bought out by somebody else. And then what happens? Then what happens to your DC movies?
Well, maybe if that happens, they can actually get some writing we could get behind.
I'd be really curious. I mean, geez, could you imagine what would happen if Disney came in and bought Warner Brothers?
Well, to me, when you think of Disney, it's kind of that same feeling you get when you think of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's all good, nothing real over the top evil. It's not gritty by any stretch of the imagination, and that's kind of the way I see Superman.
Yeah.
A little bit of the Christopher Reeve version of Superman,
Yeah.
Or, yeah, there was a bad guy, and he had some tough battles to do, but you always felt like, well, he's Superman, he's going to win, and things didn't get over the top gritty, and there was some levity in there, and they kept the love story with Lois Lane going. You
knew when Superman came on the screen that everything was going to be okay, because it was Superman, and his job was to save everyone, and he was going to save everyone. Like,
yeah, you don't get that with these new movies.
No, you don't really. And I would make the argument this is Batman v Superman movie looks more like a Batman sequel than a Superman sequel.
Yeah, it's definitely a Batman movie, and even though it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be Superman's movie. Yeah.
Yeah. This was originally set as Superman 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I didn't like the first Superman movie. I like Henry Cavill, however you say his name.
Cavill.
I think he's a quality actor. He looks like Superman, for crying out loud. But he got his butt kicked for most of that movie, and it's like, no, this is Superman.
Yeah.
He doesn't get his butt kicked. I don't care if this guy is from his planet. He doesn't get his butt kicked like this. This is not Superman.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that.
Yeah, and so, I'm really curious to see what happens here. And this movie opens this Friday.
I have my tickets already.
Are you going on Friday?
I am going Friday at noon.
There you go. Yeah, this movie, they've spent now I lost the spot. I was scrolling through here. They've spent production costs of at least $250 million. Global marketing costs could easily top $150 million. And they're saying that the movie needs to gross $80 million to recoup its investment. And
80 million or 800 million?
Or 800 million, sorry. And their, where was it? Current tracking suggests opening of at least 120 million to 140 million when the movie launches on about 4,000 screens in the U.S. That's what they're anticipating. That's the guesstimate, and they're. But one analyst has said anything under $1 billion in worldwide box office would be a disappointment.
Well, yeah, I would think so, because after what Star Wars and Deadpool and what's the other superhero that was out last year?
Age of Ultron?
Yeah. What those movies did box office after it was all said and done, you think if you came up with a movie you plan on being on the same level with them, you would want that. You would be disappointed if you didn't make that money.
Yeah. Because
I'm sure Warner Brothers and DC think they're on par with what Marvel's doing, but box office isn't showing it. The movies have not been good. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I thought Christian Bale's Batman movies, I thought were pretty good.
Yeah.
The one with Heath Ledger's Joker was by far the best one.
Absolutely.
Bane was a disappointment, but not overly so that I could say disliked the movie. I still liked the movie. Superman, for some reason, has just fallen flat, and making him gritty like Batman, I don't know. Is it this way in the comic book?
Well, it's been a long time since I've read the Batman v Superman comic books, but they're not some of my favorite comic books either. I mean, honestly, I don't know where to put the blame on this. I don't know if I should put the blame on Warner Brothers and them just making movies, or if it falls on DC. I don't know if DC really has their hand in this stuff. But I don't know.
I don't know. As an average comic book movie fan, I can't say I'm a comic book fan because I just don't have the library read behind me that most comic book fans have. So all I can tell you is what I think of a character through what I've seen in movies and TV and whatnot. And the whole idea of Superman even fighting Batman just seems to go against the whole Superman mythos.
Well,
I know it's in the comic book, blah, 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 but, I grew up with reruns of the black and white Superman. I can't think of the actor's name. But, from the early 60s, late 60s.
Right.
And then, Christopher Reeve's Superman, and those to me are what Superman are. From what I've seen in comic books, what I've seen in those movies and TV shows, that Superman would be going out of his way to make sure him and Batman didn't fight, because he knows they're on the same side.
Right.
And to see this kind of movie and know there's a comic book that backs us up is kind of disappointing, in my opinion. I mean,
Well, and
I could see Batman wanting to go after Superman out of pure ego, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
well, and the idea, I know the idea behind it is that um, Batman's a guy who knows all angles and is planning for anything and everything. And the moment that Superman and basically has a plan to take Superman down because Superman's a threat to the world and Batman wants to save the world. You know, it's that idea that power corrupts, you know, absolutely, right? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that Superman holds all the power. He could destroy the earth in an instant if he wanted to. And so Batman, being the ultimate savior, has all the angles covered so that he can protect the world, basically protect Gotham if Batman or if Superman were to go off the edge. But you know, this gritty tone idea is, it's not just a concern for us, you know, schmucks on the internet that go and read comic books and watch movies and are going looking at this going, yeah, I'm not really sure if this is where I want it to go. Eddie Von Mueller, who is a senior lecturer in film and media studies department at Emory University, has even made the comment that the if the gritty tone of Batman v Superman, Superman's trailers carries throughout the 2 hour and 31-minute film, it could be a tough sell to audiences. Like, everyone is looking at this going, I think we're done with this grittiness. Can we just tell a good story? Does everybody have to be a down and dirty, gritty, I'm going to kill you if you get in my way character? And if so I'm hoping that maybe what we're seeing, I'm hoping that maybe the trailers that we see are just the first parts of this movie, and that at the end we do see the Superman that you and I think should be there, the Superman that comes in and goes, there isn't anything you can do against me, so I'm not going to fight you because I'm better than you are, and the right thing to do here is to not fight, instead of just coming up with another video game type ending just so they can have big explosions and, you know, big conflict. And this is a perfect opportunity for Warner Brothers, if they get this right, which none of us have seen this movie, so we don't know, maybe they did, but gosh darn, it does not seem like it's like they're headed that way. And
Well, I'm pretty much guessing that 3/4 to 80% of this movie is going to be Batman, Superman trying to kill each other. And then at the end, realizing that Lex Luthor is actually the bad guy, and they join forces with Wonder Woman and Aquaman and try to actually do something good. Of course, you know, it's called Dawn of Justice, so
yeah.
So
Well,
I'm sure that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think
Doomsday
the
video.
or
What's that?
a Doomsday or Apocalypse, or not Apocalypse. What's his name? Darkseid. Darkseid is supposed to show up. He's supposed to be the big bad in this thing towards the end, or at least that's what's hinted at. But I don't know how that's going to fit in. I mean, I honestly just feel like they've taken all these characters and said, hey, this would be really cool. This would be really cool. This would be really cool. Let's throw them all in a movie and see what happens. Like, I don't think this movie is going to be very good. So I'll be interested to see. We will talk about it on Monday after Kip goes and watches it. Well,
yeah, I'm holding out hope that it's good. I'm not predicting it, but I'm holding out hope. And I'm pretty sure the movie was thought about when they saw Avengers. When, you know, we could do this with the Justice League, and so they may surprise us.
Yeah, you know, there is that the curious factor that's going to get a lot of people to go see this movie. You've said you're in that boat as well. You're curious to see what they do with it and
Yeah.
see where they go with it, and if they can develop an ensemble franchise out of these, out of these characters that they're going to throw in this movie. So I don't know. We'll see
I
what
hope so.
happens, and we'll find out in 4 days.
Absolutely.
So, all right. You got anything else you want to throw out there?
No, we just need to make sure people are aware of our gaming day.
That's
April
right.
30th. Red Crow Brewery.
Red Crow Brewery. There is go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/geekvice, and on there in our events, and I'm going to actually bump it up so that it gets back to the top of our feed, but you can see it on there. It's our International Tabletop Day, April 30th. It's a Saturday. Come join us at Red Crow Brewery. We're going to play some board games. We can drink some beer. It's a nice microbrewery down there, so they got some good beers. They'll have a food truck down there, so there'll be some nice food, and it'll be a good time. And you'll get to hang out with me and Kip. So,
yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. Bring your friends. Bring your whatevers. What I'm going to try to do is we want to try to get here in the next couple weeks. We want to get kind of a head count on who all is going to be there. So if you want to come, if you think you're going to come, click that yes, you're going to attend button on our event so that we can kind of get a head count of how many people we're looking at so that we can make sure we have enough tables set up so that people can play board games. So we have, you don't get stuck at a table with, people playing a board game you don't want to play. So, go do that. You can also check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. That's where you can find all of our streams of the podcast. You can also follow us on Google Plus and Facebook. Again, that's facebook.com/geekvice. You can also follow us on YouTube. Best way to get to that is to go to tiny.cc/geekvice. That is our link to the YouTube channel. We have this podcast up there. We have another podcast with John and Bill called Geekfecta, which we've done several episodes for. We're trying to do some more of them, trying to work out schedules to get some more of those done. But I also have a morph playing video games called Geek Vice Gaming, where I played Legendary and a solo run of Legendary on there. I played, what else did we put on there? Oh, I put XCOM Enemy Unknown, the final battle of that is on there. And I tried to put some Styx Master of Shadows up there, and I played for an hour and a half and had some episodes ready to go up, and then looked at them and realized, hey, guess what? All the audio recorded, but no video. So that doesn't work out well on YouTube. It didn't even make sense. And I had played the game. So I've got to go back and replay those. I figured out what I did and why it didn't record. So I'm going to try to do that this time and get that right. But I'm going to try to get that up. I don't know that I'll be able to get it up this week. It'll probably be next week by the time I start getting those up. But you'll start seeing episodes for Master of Shadows coming up on our YouTube page. Again, that's tiny.cc/geekvice. Anything else you want to pimp while we're pimping things, Mr. Kip?
I'm all pimped out because pimping ain't easy.
That's right. All right. So thanks everybody for listening. If you want to comment on any of our topics or suggest a topic for a future episode, or tell us what you think of Batman vs. Superman, email us at geekvice@gmail.com. And if you email us after you go see this movie and tell us what you think, we will talk about it next week when Kip has actually seen the movie. So again, that is geekvice@gmail.com, and we will see you next week.
Later.